Good evening and welcome to Tuesday Night Live DJ Chat here. And tonight, my guest is Eric Rhodes. Eric, good evening.
Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, thanks for being on. Now, so we're going to get into talking to Eric about a lot of cool stuff tonight, and you guys can hang on for that. But before we do that, tonight's show is sponsored by DJ Event Planner, DJEventPlanner.com. If you guys are looking for something to be that tool to help you interact with your couples and wedding DJs, this is a great website set of tools that'll allow you to do that. You can check that out at DJEventPlanner.com. So I want to get that out of the way, Eric, before we got to... Otherwise, once we start talking, we'll never remember. So that way we got it. Yes. All right. So, Eric, we're going to be digging into talking about moving from a kind of that wedding DJ and moving beyond that. For a lot of DJs, that's something that they have talked about or they have felt a guilt because of wanting, even thinking that, because, you know, kind of the premise for most of us has been, you know, weddings are the kind of a moment. There's where we're headed to. Let's kind of start, though, for the folks who are getting to meet you for the first time tonight. Tell us a little bit about what life is like in Idaho.
What life is like in Idaho. Well, it used to be really chill. Now we're blowing up. Boise.
Yeah, you guys have really been seeing some expansion out in your neck of the woods there from population growth and such.
Oh, big time. Yeah. But it's great. I love it here.
Yeah, great. It's a beautiful area. I've had family who live out there, and they just absolutely loved it. The thing that they miss the most, though, is here there's a lot more fishing. That we've got lakes in our backyard, and you can visit 15 lakes in 10 minutes type of a thing. And they were saying that they didn't have the fishing opportunities weren't quite as plentiful in your guys' area there. But for wildlife, they really enjoyed that.
Love it.
Great stuff. So you tell us, how did you get into the DJ profession? Kind of give us that little talk of who is Eric.
Sure. I grew up, always had a love for music, was the kid that made mixtapes and CDs in the 90s. And in college in 2000, I went to a rave in my college town and saw two DJs mixing on 4 turntables, two really good house DJs out of Seattle. And, while everybody else is just dancing and freaking out about how great the set was, I'm like, how do I do that? Mm-hmm. So the next day I took student loan money, went on eBay and bought somebody's used equipment, a couple crates of house records, and just went for it. And yeah, that's how I got my start. Just learned it.
That's so funny, but it's so true. Look at, we have our our loan money came in. Let's go buy DJ gear.
In a way, it's kind of funny. It was like it was supposed to be used for school, and in a way, it kind of was. It got me where I am.
You were investing in that, and we did the exact same thing. As that very first sound system was the first one we bought, because we were renting for the first few years when we were in high school. But once we got there, and all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, all this extra money, and I didn't, school's paid for, and I've got this left over. Speakers. Oh,
right.
Funny. So you got into it and such, but let's kind of back up. You're saying made your mixtapes and did all that kind of stuff. Were you musically inclined, like performing with any instruments or anything, or was it just that you got into the idea of spinning and playing was your first really musical experience that way?
I mean, just as a kid, little kid, grade school, I was just infatuated with my parents' record player, cassette tapes. My mom was always singing in the car, I was singing with her. Sure. So I just really loved listening and enjoyed music. Mm-hmm. And then, I don't know, I did play trumpet for a year or two, when you have to be in band in like 5th, 6th grade. So I did that. Didn't love it, but I did it. And then, yeah, I just, once again, was just always obsessed with making more about making the right, creating the right mood,
Mm-hmm.
whatever situation was happening. If it was my basketball team, school's basketball team, I wanted to make the cool warm up playlist. Or if
Nice.
we had I got my first car, I knew what friends were going to be in when we are driving to certain places. I want to make sure that CD was like had the perfect, playlist. So it was just that. Before I got into DJing, though, I did try to play guitar. I picked up, an acoustic guitar and tried to learn how to play, but I just did not have the patience for it, and heart wasn't in it.
Mm-hmm.
So I bought it, barely practiced, and then ended up selling it to a buddy. So that was kind of my extent of playing a musical instrument. And when I found turntables and DJing, it was just like a perfect blend of me wanting to learn to do something with music,
Mm-hmm.
and also my love for just an enjoyment of other people's music and creating a kind of a soundtrack for certain moments.
And there seems to be too, when I talk to DJs and we get into this area of the discussion, it seems that there's the DJs who had parents who had an album collection, and the parents just loved music and such, and the kid that rubbed off on the children. Or it was someone who was like, oh yes, I'm musically trained and I've been playing the piano since I was 4 years old, that kind of a thing. So it
Right.
seems that we have one or the other. I'm much more like you as far as my parents had a great record collection. So I grew up learning how to put the needle on the record, as a 5-year-old type of a thing. That was one of the first things we did, because Dad would be like, okay, go over and flip the record, put it on, and then we listen to the other side. It was a great experience, and really started to hone that love of music, and playing music for other people, I think, was part of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Great stuff. So you bought your first gear. Where did the events that you started to do when you first got into it? Where'd you find yourself performing?
In my apartment. That was pretty much it for a while. I
Yeah.
just wanted to learn how to do it. That I actually didn't have the passion to perform early on. I just wanted to learn, and like beat matching and figuring out phrasing and all. I just was really obsessed with that. Eventually, I did throw my own house parties, and then there was I went to the University of Idaho, just a small town, Moscow, Idaho. So there weren't a ton of clubs, or it wasn't a big city. But I did play. I don't even remember the name of the venue now, but there was a small club that I used to play at every once in a while. But really, I didn't do a ton. I did have I should mention this. I did have a radio show at KUOY, which was the local college radio station,
Sure.
and they had a massive record and CD collection. And so I had a show there for 5 years, and it wasn't always mixing, but it did, as I got better, I would incorporate, 1 hour, 2 hour DJ sets into my radio show.
Oh, very
And
nice.
so that was one of my outlets, I guess.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So
But it wasn't really until I moved to Boise in 2005, and that's really when I started performing for other people. So it took me a long time, honestly.
during that time when you were kind of, before that you moved to Boise, were you able to see other DJs to learn from, or was it literally just learning everything from scratch and not having that experience? Because that was really pre-internet, heavy internet for content. So you weren't watching DJs on YouTube at that time.
Yeah, there was a good kind of rave house scene in our area in at WSU and U of I. So I would connect with other DJs, and we'd have like small parties at the houses where each DJ would take 30 minutes and throw down, and we'd discuss our records and things like that. So I had this connection with people, and we were learning from each other, and yeah, so there was that bit of community that I learned from.
So
But
early on, what would you have looked, if you look back and you would have been talking to yourself at that age, what would yourself at that age say your strengths were as a DJ? And then we'll compare that later in the show when you get a little older. What did you feel that, hey, I've got some really talent in this area, whether it be mixing, programming, whatever?
yeah, I think I was from a technical standpoint, I think I was really, really good at beat mixing, vinyl records,
Mm-hmm.
and phrasing them correctly, and having, knowing energy levels and how to, really create I don't know what I'm trying to say, like I don't know, they just flowed really well together.
Sure.
So, and then I thought maybe nobody else thought this, but I think I was really good at picking good records. Like I'd have to go to online record stores that I can't remember the names now. They were like X something, but there were all these like house record
Mm-hmm.
sites, and I would just dig and dig and dig in like the school libraries, computer
Yep.
lab. And I thought I had some really cool records. Some of them are back here, actually. I want to do some videos eventually. These are all my old records from when I was in college and
Nice.
bringing those out and messing with them. But yeah, so I'd say song selection and just having really clean, fluid mixes that really told a story, if you will,
Sure.
through.
Sure. That technical side typically is something that, comes on later as a person's, you mentioned phrasing of music and how music phrasing works. The number,
Mhm.
people don't think about that unless it's been explained to them in most cases. So that's interesting that would have been something that would have really been important to you at that space and time. So neat.
Right. Yeah.
So you moved to Boise. Then obviously you were starting to become a larger entity. Kind of take us through what happened then.
Yeah, I got still obsessed with DJing, and I wanted to play out. I was like, oh, okay, I'm in a bigger city. I can create some opportunities, try to network with people. Was having a bit of a hard time doing that, but got my first job at a restaurant and then a second one at a bar, like a lounge. It was actually a really nice lounge, like a craft cocktail kind of lounge. And I don't know, I was a few months into bartending, and the manager, who nobody knew I was a DJ. I didn't really talk about it yet.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, man, I'm thinking about bringing in a DJ like Friday, Saturday night. And I said, let me do it. And he kind of looked at me like, what are you talking about?
Doing
I
our
go,
job.
no, actually, I'm actually really good. I DJ all the time. I told him all about it. And he's like, all right, come in, try it Friday night. Let's see how it goes. And they loved me. And so I
Mm-hmm.
ended up having a Friday, Saturday night residency there for 4 or 5 years, which evolved and led me into other venues around town and making bigger connections and just doing other cooler events
Mm-hmm.
in town. But I didn't do a lot of private events. It was all just basically things down in downtown Boise.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So,
So when did you then make the kind of that move to moving into private events? And if you were, getting into that and you were doing it for a number of years.
yeah, it's funny. I had a career as a bartender for a while, and then I was in TV news. So that was kind of my path, I thought,
Mm-hmm.
and it was all behind the scenes. I wasn't on air. I was just a reporter, or excuse me, a videographer and a producer.
Okay.
And so I was just DJing on the weekends, and people would ask me to do private events and birthday parties. I'm like, I don't really have the speakers. I don't think I'm interested in doing that. I definitely don't want to do weddings. They'll sound corny. Like that was my
Mm-hmm.
thought process. And then a buddy of mine who was doing both said, hey, I want you to cover a wedding for me. I'll provide the speakers. I even got some music. You can use some of mine. Um, and I was like, I don't know. And he's like, I'll pay you $500 or however much it was. I was like, okay. Like, all
Exactly.
right, that's good. I'm making, 100, 150 at the local lounge. And so I did my first wedding. It was pretty low key, but it was fun. I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
The money was pretty good. And I started to do the math. Yeah, I helped him out with a couple. And I started to do the math and comparing it to what I was making at the new station. And I thought, man, I'm not happy when I'm going to work. I don't like my job. My passion wasn't into TV news.
Sure.
I'm having this fun DJing on the weekends. How can I make this work? And in 2011, I started Rhodes Entertainment, which is my DJ company.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then in 2012, I got laid off. So my plan was to start the DJ business, grow it to where I could phase out of my news position.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
we ultimately all got laid off in 2012. And so I had a decision to make, and I decided to actually it's 2011, and I decided to just go all in
Mm-hmm.
and DJing, and didn't look back and just had to hustle and grow a DJ business.
Definitely felt like one of those burn the boat type moments where all of a sudden it's like, I guess this is it. Let's go.
It was nuts. We just had a
Yeah.
baby too, so
Oh, wow.
it was all pretty scary. But I was confident in myself to know that I could make it work. And I had to wait tables on the side for 4 or 5 years, and just figured it out. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
And when you made that jump in 2011 and started the company, where were you kind of targeting your efforts as far as what type of events were you really trying to push for?
Weddings.
Okay.
Yeah, I was focused on weddings. I would do other events as well, but my main I knew I had to kind of hone in on something, and I chose to hone in on weddings. So yeah.
And yet, even at that time, if you would have been, had a weekend where you did a club and then you did a weekend where you did a wedding, which one did you enjoy more at that point in time in your career?
Um, Probably from an artistic perspective, I liked doing the lounges and clubs
Mm-hmm.
better.
Sure.
They were more fun, but I also liked the challenge of doing a wedding and
Hmm.
another private event. It was different. I'm like, okay, I got to figure out the flow of this. Oh, I got to make cocktail playlists, dinner. This is a different type of crowd. So I really enjoyed that process and challenge of doing a wedding and learning about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end, getting the reward of most of the time of you're amazing. That was awesome. We loved it.
Right.
Thank you so much. And there's definitely a thrill and a addiction to that, like feedback.
Oh, certainly. Certainly. And then, of course, as you mentioned earlier, then the paycheck at the end of the night is a little bit nicer from one than the other.
And the money's better.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. There's that too.
for
So, so,
sure.
so Rhodes Entertainment, you're out there hustling, starting to fill the calendar with events and such. How long before you got to the point where you're starting to think, I've lost my fire for weddings?
That took a while. There was, I think an interesting part of my journey is I tried to grow a multi-op DJ company.
Okay.
So I was like, oh, what do I do to, I'm getting these, I built it to where I'm getting enough leads to where I have too many. And like most people, it's like, okay, how do I pass these leads off and earn some income from it? So I tried to grow a multi-op. And after several years, I had what I think I was up to four guys, DJs, and I just wasn't happy. I'm like,
Mm,
I'm not DJing for fun anymore. And I'm kind of grinding it out, just training guys and managing the business and doing all these contracts. And I don't really know how to run a business. I'm just trying to, wing it and figure it out. And the way I structured it, we don't have to dive into that, but I wasn't making a lot of money off of it.
sure.
So I was basically making minimum wage running my business outside of
Mm-hmm.
the money I was making off events. And so I'm like, man, this is not worth it to me. And 2019, I decided at the end of the wedding season that I'd let everybody go and go in on two things that I was passionate about, which I loved marketing and I loved DJing. And
Mm-hmm.
so I decided, all right, I'm going to lose a little bit of my income. I'm taking a step back, but I think if I can reset, go all in on these things, it'll eventually pay off more than if I just stuck it out and tried to get photo booths and dance floors and more people and all these things that I didn't really enjoy working with. And
Mm-hmm.
that was the best decision I ever made
Hmm.
because it's the right one for me.
Sure.
And I wouldn't be where I'm at now if I didn't hadn't made that decision. So
So that
uh,
was in the end of 2019 when you basically made that change, right?
yeah.
When did you start to get into social media and to starting to develop that part of your experience, for lack of a better way to describe it? Because obviously that's an area that you've done very, very well in, and it has been a tool for you to use.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I was always kind of into social media, trying to figure out how to make, wedding recaps and cool, posts and different things for Instagram. But during COVID, I did some lives and people really enjoyed that. And I was like, oh, wonder where I could take that eventually, but didn't go all in on it. Was still trying to just grow my wedding business,
Hmm.
trying to get high rates, be an elite entertainer. Um, but in 2021, I decided I was trying to promote my Mixcloud mixes. And at that point in April of 2021, I was like, how can I promote these mixes and do it in a way that, if I say on Facebook, hey, I just made a new mix, go to Mixcloud, and two people see it
Yep.
because they don't want you going to Mixcloud. So one of my ideas was like, well, if I just show a transition from the mix on my stories and I'll post that, that led to someone telling me, hey, these should actually be reels and TikTok videos. So in May of 2021, that's when I started posting on TikTok and
Mm.
Instagram. And that's when everything just started to take off for me. And I knew that was a new path that I was on. So yeah. So it was mid 2021.
That really those tools really became a big part of your business then at that point, because they were able to
And
drive things, and I would guess, and we haven't talked about this, so if I'm out of line or saying this wrong, but TikTok, of course, is a money revenue. You can make some revenue off views and such. And was that part of your business plan to be able utilizing them as a money generation, or more of a business driving force?
you don't get paid a lot off views on Instagram or TikTok, any of those places, not
Mm.
like YouTube.
Okay.
So I didn't really make any money off of
Okay.
it, and I still don't. I make a little bit, but not enough to,
Just yeah, yeah,
get
yeah.
excited about.
Yep.
So what I learned was that I had to use these tools as a way to get business.
Sure.
So when I blew up on TikTok, I wasn't really doing much on Instagram, just kind of posting my regular things, but not going all in like I was over on the other platform. And when I went over 1 million followers, I'm like, okay, I'm getting some business from this, but I don't feel like I'm getting the right business from
Mm.
this.
Okay.
So I thought, you know, um, I figured it'd be best to go in on Instagram. So I started to really hone in on that because I figured that's where the business owners are, the wedding planners. I feel like they're on TikTok, but they're not. All the business is happening on Instagram.
Mm.
And so
Okay.
I started to grow that. And when I started to do that and start to get, over 100,000 followers and more, that's when I started to get a lot of really good business. And that became my main focus.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, when you were utilizing those at first, if I'm kind of understanding your time frame and such, when you first started on TikTok and Instagram, you were still trying to brand as a wedding company, or had you transitioned to away from the wedding and you were now more of a performer for other events?
I was wedding focused up until about 2023.
Okay.
Yeah, so only a couple years ago did I really go, okay, I think I'm shifting out of the wedding industry and exploring all these new opportunities outside of that.
Okay. Okay.
So,
Great. That'll get. This is the. I was wondering if we'd be able to get into this questioning.
yeah.
So when you're having a TikTok and Instagram, and you were doing that in 2022 and such, were couples finding you? Were brides finding you more with that? Were the grooms finding you? How was that leading to business for you when it came to the wedding market?
Yeah, so what happened, started posting on TikTok May 2021, started to grow my following. At the end of the year, I had about 100,000 followers on TikTok, which was good, but it wasn't really I wasn't getting a ton of business from it.
Yeah.
Then in March, I posted a video that many people know it. It was Chris Stapleton and Cash Out. It's a hip hop country crossover. It was just a transition track that I thought was interesting, and it went mega viral.
Yep.
And shortly after that, I did Warren G with Morgan Wallen. And within that span of March to really until May-ish, that's when my business dramatically changed. I was getting brides from all over the country, event planners hitting me up. It was really overwhelming. I got, which in a great way, but it was very overwhelming. I started to get tons of leads, but a lot of them were very, I wouldn't say qualified.
Sure.
Hey, can you come out to my wedding for, $500 out in Georgia? I'm in Idaho. I'm like, that's not going to work.
No.
So I was wasting a lot of my time trying to answer all these leads. So what I did is, and I still was wedding focused, and I thought, okay, I'm going to put a price barrier on my contact form so that if anybody, I've got to have a limit. And my limit at the time, I think was like $5,000. So I put that on my website. My leads slowed down and I started to get more serious leads. And so really I was getting a lot of wedding leads through TikTok.
Nice.
And then, when I started going in on Instagram late 2022 and really grew that mid 2023, that's when I started getting more corporate, CEOs of companies wanting me to come out for husband or wife's 50th birthday party, brands hitting me up. Like that's when I started to shift. And at the end of actually it was at the end of 2022. I'm getting my dates kind of mixed up, but that's when I was like, okay, I don't think I want to be a wedding DJ anymore and see what else I can do. And so I hired somebody to totally rebrand, with this up here, instead of Rhodes Entertainment, it's Eric Rhodes. Redid my whole website to be a little less wedding focused. So when somebody went to my website, it didn't just look like I was a Boise wedding DJ. It looked like I was more national, you know, um, we'll take on all kinds of events. And I had to rebrand basically.
Mm-hmm.
And so by 2023, that's when I really shifted out. And then 2024, I only had one wedding, and this year I don't have any planned. So it was not something I expected to do, but
Certainly.
it just kind of happened. And yeah.
You mentioned, the inquiry from, going out to the, backwoods of Georgia for $75.
Yeah.
As the leads have, when you were getting more quality leads, as you went, whether it was a business or the wedding side of it, was it just a regional request, or were you getting people who wanted to bring you in and would pay to bring you into different markets?
It was a mix of both, but there were a lot of out of town leads. And then especially when I put that price barrier up,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of my local leads went away. I'm sure I was still getting inquiry, like people were checking out my site, but they just weren't following through because
Sure.
I think the price was just a little too much. Um, so yeah, it was a lot of national leads, honestly.
And we're going to just jump in. We'll drift back. But as you look at your schedule for the upcoming year, if you were going to put a percentage on how many things are within driving distance and how many things are outside of your driving distance, type of a thing, within a couple of hours,
Yeah.
are you 50-50 with that when it comes to events? Or are you doing more outside of that, 2 hour travel window, or where are you at
It's
with it?
it's zero, other than maybe like I did a local silent disco thing for 2 hours the other night. I don't really consider that an event that somebody, yeah, I don't know. That was more
Yeah.
for fun.
Yeah.
But like big events, I'm not doing anything local right
Mm.
now. I didn't have anything local in 2024. Everything was travel.
Wow.
Pretty wild. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
really a change in lifestyle,
Mm-hmm.
a learning experience.
When you get to that point where you're like, I need to, kind of rethink and drift away from the weddings, what was the big, the things that were basically talking to your heart and saying that this is something that you needed to do for yourself and for your business, and to walk away from those better paychecks that you were experiencing at that time?
Yeah, I mean, I was really passionate about weddings and really passionate about being a great MC, a great, just everything. I was very passionate about it. And when I got the opportunity to not have to do weddings at a price that was better than I was making doing weddings, um, and it was less work, it was fun and exciting. I got, instead of all these hours of prep work, I could kind of just come in and do my thing. I had more time with my family. I don't know that I just started weighing all of these, lifestyle changes and financial changes, and it just made sense to back off from weddings for a while. I
Sure.
had been doing that for so long. You mentioned burnout. I think even though I loved it, I was getting a little burnt out.
I
I
could see
had
it.
been doing it for, I don't know how many years, 12 or 13 years, and I think I was ready for a change.
Hmm.
So
Let's talk stress level differences between when you're doing the years of weddings and you were into that, and there's can be a lot of stress with weddings, but now that
yeah.
you're doing bigger performances in different locations and much bigger events, compare and contrast the stress that you between those two types of experiences.
Sure. I don't know. I guess the stress of a wedding was I want to make them happy. This is the one day that they have. And if I mess this up, I can't go back and do it over.
Yeah.
So the level of importance of doing a good job that I set for myself for them created a lot of stress for me in that way. And you have a lot of moving parts, a lot of other people that want it their say. I mean, so it's just a different kind of stress. You got moms, you got all,
Hmm.
if you're in the wedding industry, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This type of stress, if I go to do an event, I'm putting pressure on myself because I am now very popular. Some people call me famous. I don't like that word really, but there's a celebrity status to
Sure.
me.
Hmm.
So when I show up, I feel like I have to, deliver what they expect. And
Exactly.
sometimes I don't know exactly what the people in the crowd are expecting, or because I put a little bit of everything out when I do my social media. And so there's just that. There's this level of like making just sure I do a good job.
Hmm.
And so it's more internal stress than it is all the other things of making pleasing like a bride
Yeah.
on one wedding day, if that makes sense.
No, makes a lot of
Never
sense.
had to really describe that before. So
Yeah,
I
no,
like that question.
you've done very very well. That the expectations of the crowd. At a wedding, we've all been there. That the weddings where the crowd is expecting you to basically not not be a blubbering idiot, and then they're good with that. And yet where you're
Yeah.
at now with the type of performances, and you're walking in as a celebrity, there's an expectation that, hey, this guy is, he knows what he's doing. He's gonna rock our socks off. We're gonna just sit here and find out how he's gonna rock our socks off, but he's gonna rock that. And that it's a different type of a situation. But oh,
Yeah.
the excitement and the adrenaline you must feel when you're coming into a room like that.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's got to be pretty
And
cool.
when I mix like, a mashup that I've done that went viral, the phones come out and everybody's really excited and then they get photos with me. Like that's kind of stressful too in its own right, but it's very exciting
Hmm.
uh to get that kind of attention. It's fun and it's cool that people enjoy that. Yeah, going back to the performance and the stress of that, something clicked in my head while you were talking is that early on, a couple years ago, I'd get really stressed and talk to my wife. I'm like, what if they're just wanting mashups the whole time? What if they're just wanting, more than I can actually deliver? Because I'm just me. I'm just doing what I do. What if they have this? They think I'm this good, but I'm really this good, and I'm just really getting in my own head about everything. And she's like, kind of like, calm down, just do what you do, because that's all you can do. Like
Hmm.
just, and it really, it helped to just go, okay, I don't have to try to be something I'm not. People like me for who I am, and if they have a different expectation of who I am, there's nothing I can do about that. I can just do what I'm good at and do that. And that really helped me a lot
Oh, that
to
would be
come.
huge, huge. Yeah. Because that was wanted to kind of go there. This is that that little voice. Sometimes we can be our worst critics, and that little voice in the back of your head. And it sounds like she was able to really help you at at that point in time when that little voice was going.
She's saved me through a lot of little mini panic attacks in certain situations. I don't have them all the time, but there
No,
are
but
moments.
we all
Yeah,
have them. Yeah, there was, especially when you're transitioning from something that it was so well known and secondhand or second nature to you, and going
yeah,
into a semi unknown world and such. And oh,
totally.
yeah, that's good stuff. Very good stuff. So you've made the transition. Here you are today. What areas are you really focusing on in your business to help grow this side of your business now that you've kind of focusing on these larger corporate events and the larger performances like that?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like so this year or early last year, I hired an assistant, which was tremendous help. I was doing everything on my own, all the booking, all the travel, booking all the flights, and doing the tech ride, all this stuff. And she's been so much, excuse me, so helpful. So
Mm-hmm.
this year, I've been able to. I want to focus more on my craft because I have more time to do that, and get more creative with the social media videos that I post. Um, I also want to see what kind of, because I have a massive following. So it's like what kind of brand partnerships can I do?
Sure.
Um, what kind of amazing events that I maybe don't have access to the people that throw these events. Getting some help basically.
Mm-hmm.
So hiring some people to help me do bigger and better things in that regard. And then, I have since like 2015, 2016, I've had this urge to want to teach and help. And so I'm starting my journey of like, okay, well, how can I support not only DJs, but possibly entrepreneurs or other people in like the personal development, put
Sure.
yourself out there on social media world and public speaking, and just kind of see where I can go with that. Because I think there's a lot of opportunity for me in that regard, in say maybe showing up to a corporate event and DJing it, but also giving a cool talk
Mm-hmm.
while I'm. And so it's just exploring all the options
Certainly.
and seeing.
And I want to get back. We're going to talk family, and you mentioned family time. I want to get back to that, and before we wrap up tonight. But you kind of went in a direction there of kind of the next phase. You know, when we've been into this for a while, and we have have. I want to get back. We're going to talk family, and where did that come from? Huh. I don't know.
I apologize.
Oh, it was on your side. Okay, good.
I had trying to click out of something that was making noise.
Okay, all good. It's like
it was you.
it was me coming back. When the transition, you've had some success, you've done some things, and of course, then it becomes the time to teach. Whether it's in a sport, you play the sport for a while, then you can you transition and you become a coach or a teacher, what have you. You're getting to that part of your career now where you have an incredible set of skills, and you can kind of share that. Talk a little bit about when you've had experience to share and mentor someone a little bit, or that. The feeling of the satisfaction, or how does that kind of fill the soul, for lack of a better way to describe it, for you?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't necessarily been like a coach for somebody or anything like that, but when I first blew up, I spoke at like the Collective, DJ Collective, and Midwest DJs Live. This is, I think, 22-ish, 21, 22.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got done with something like that, people were coming up asking me questions like, thank you for thank you for talking about that. It was so refreshing to hear this, or whatever they say. And I just always, it's just fulfilling to know that like everything I've done can possibly help someone else
For sure.
get a little bit better in their business, get a little bit better in their personal lives or family lives or whatever it may be. Because I try to talk about a little bit of everything, and yeah, I just see it as rewarding. I think I love raising my kids and teaching them things, and
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of the same way. And I did not get where I'm at without a lot of help from other people, and so I feel like actually an obligation to give back what I've learned and have through other people and through just trial and error, and just making people better,
Mm-hmm.
earning more money, being better in their profession, being better at everything.
Performers, what have you. Yeah. And I think we talked a little bit off air, for those watching, that about how there's many people that we reach when we're doing videos like this, or doing training videos, or even doing demonstrations when Eric's doing some of his mixes. There are people who are watching these things and learning from these, and we'll never get to meet these people. We'll never know that they exist. I know half a dozen people, Eric, that have watched your videos, and you have influenced them to go out and try things and to try to expand that part of their performance, because you were very inspirational with what you were doing and such. So it's just that aspect of it. It's going to be cool to watch how you progress in that, because it's going to be one of those areas where you're going to be able to give back to the industry in a huge way.
Yeah, that's so awesome to hear.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
exciting.
I
It's
love that.
exciting stuff for you. Let's jump back to the family side of it. You mentioned earlier that the transition from the wedding DJ to the event DJ, obviously was the family, having time for family was important to you, and then of course adding the assistant is going to help that.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about what some of the things you needed to do to protect that family time as you've been expanding and growing your business and traveling more.
Sure. First was communication with my wife. In the beginning, you're like, I want to make sure that whatever I'm doing, she's okay with too. And she's always just been a big supporter. We both just support each other so much, and there isn't jealousy or anything involved. So I just feel very grateful for that relationship. And so communication with her the whole time. Hey, are you cool? I might be gone like 10 days, or is this going to work? Are you going to be able to handle the kids, or should I maybe turn down this opportunity? Like, so it really starts there. And that's the foundation. After that, having that EA has been tremendous. Trying to take advantage of opportunities where I can travel with my family and do the event at the same time. I've had a couple of those in 2024 where I got to go to South Carolina, Charleston, bring my wife and kids.
Nice.
We make a trip out of it. Got to go to Florida. And so, when I tell my kids, hey, I'm going to be gone for a little while, but because I'm doing all of these things, we get to go do this, and you get to have this, and we try to balance it out. And then when I'm home, it's be home with them and try to be as present as possible, which is always a challenge, but
Certainly.
still make sure I'm home. But yeah, it's just I don't have it perfected, but I try my best to just keep it, it's kind of ebbs and flows.
Hmm.
I had 2 or 3 weeks off around Christmas time, and I made the most of it with
Nice.
my family, but they know there's going to be a kind of this other side where I'm going to be hustling and grinding and working hard and gone for a while. And it's just kind of is what it is. Yeah,
Yeah. And I
it's
think,
messy.
yeah, and as you were talking about when you added the assistants and have delegating a lot of tasks that were, I don't want to say cumbersome, but basically that were just busy tasks for you as the performer that could be handled wonderfully by someone who is you know competent to do those types of things, that you needed them to do.
Yeah.
How did you go about finding an assistant that could handle those things and do them well for you?
Yeah. Early on, I tried to find a virtual assistant, and I had one out of, the Philippines. And it she was not a good fit for me, but I like quickly just found somebody online and went for it. And I have a business coach too, and she kind of helped me see like that's not really a good fit. When I went to hire and was ready to hire an EA last year, she said you should really do a thorough um hiring process.
Hmm.
I'm an impatient person. I'm like, what if I just put it out on, excuse me, if I just put it out on Facebook, I need somebody to help me, or I
Yeah.
put it out on Instagram and I get somebody. She's like, that's not gonna work. Like, do a thorough process.
Yeah.
So what I did is I spent about a month, and I first came up with all the criteria that I wanted for somebody. And then I put out a post on Instagram and Facebook and in my stories that I was looking for an executive assistant, and they had to have these qualities, work of these hours. I actually did the work to like
Mm,
define everything that I wanted out of
nice.
somebody. And when I did that, after within like a day, I think I had like 117 resumes come
Mm,
into my inbox. I was like, oh great.
wow.
I'll post off like, and so then I went through every single one, broke it down to no's, found some ones that I was like, that's not a good fit, not a good fit. Then I had like 35, went through all of those again, broke it down, kept breaking it down until I had my top eight. And then I interviewed all eight of them and then broke it down into a top three. And then ultimately found the one person that I wanted to work with. And she has been an absolute perfect fit. And I'm so glad I spent all of that time and energy and effort just really defining who I wanted, and going through that interview process, and just getting that right person, because I think she's going to be with me for a long time, and
Nice.
she's been super helpful for my business.
No, for sure. That, yeah, getting the right person in a position is critical, whether it's DJs working under you or in your case, an executive assistant is huge, huge, huge. You
Yeah.
mentioned a coach. Tell us a little bit about that process of having a business coach.
Yeah. So I hired her. Was it beginning of 2020, right before COVID hit?
Hmm.
And I just was looking for somebody that was a kind of a business slash life coach, because I was trying to make some higher level decisions with my life and not just my business. And she was a perfect blend of that. And she's been with me ever since. And she's not only helped me, so help support me in my business and my goals, but she even has like a psychology side to her. So I'm learning a lot about myself, and kind of my own personal growth journey through all of this,
Sure.
especially as I'm becoming more well known and have a lot more eyeballs on me. That's a kind of a mental shift I have to deal with. And a lot of things come out from your past when you start dealing with stress and new levels in your life, and she's helped guide me through those things. So it's been a really interesting journey through that, but she's been a tremendous help in kind of guiding me through that. Um, Beyond that, I also though have, like I said earlier, there's some things I want to achieve that I think I've maxed out with her. So I'm going to keep her for certain aspects of my life and business, but also have someone else who has the expertise and experience on doing more higher level business
Hmm.
transactions and things. So, yeah, I'm a firm believer in coaches and people helping you, and having mentors and all of that.
And
wouldn't be where I am without them.
oh, for sure, they're so critical to the success. And I think there's nothing wrong. Some people are like, oh, I find a coach and I'm going to be with them forever type of a situation. And it gets to a point where some people have expertise. No one has expertise everywhere. And
Right.
you found that, and to be able to say that, okay, we're beautiful and you're helping me in these areas, but I need help in these areas, and to be able to do that is a hats off moment for you. That it's only going to make you a stronger business and a stronger person by building that team around you like that. Good job.
For sure.
Good
Thanks.
job.
Yeah. And my coach now, she was actually my second one. So I had one years before, and that kind of ran its course. I'm like, I don't know if that's a good fit anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So you said not sticking with forever. It's, being aware of that and not just feeling like you have to stay with somebody just because you've been with them for
Yeah,
a while.
for sure. Yeah, sometimes it's as they say, it's a slow hire and a quick fire sometimes, and it's not because it's just the times you get there. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Eric, we're kind of running out of time here just a little bit. For those who are out there watching, if you could give them just an idea of a couple of things that you look back over your career and you did, and you're like, hey, this little element was so instrumental in my blowing up of my business or the growth of my business. If you could kind of pick a couple of those out to share, and we probably already hit them, but just to kind of bring us back to that, some little pieces that you did that really have led to the success and where you are today. What would those areas be, or those spots?
I think my curiosity allowed me to see what I'm lacking. So if I wanted to be where so and so is, I got curious about why are they there and I'm not there, and I'd go, oh well, they seem to be really good at selling, so I should probably learn how to sell. Or they're better at marketing than I am, or they have a cool brand. Like I look like, so I'm always just learning
Mm-hmm.
from their mentors or books. I'm an avid reader. I read every morning at least 10 pages of a book that's going to help me get better. And so doing things like that, one of the one of the best things I ever did was take so I used to be terrified of public speaking. I talk about this quite a bit, but I ended up overcoming that fear by going to Toastmasters for 4 years and becoming confident in myself to speak publicly and in interpersonal communication.
Sure.
After that, I realized, okay, that's not going to totally help me, completely help me with my wedding business. So I discovered Mark Farrell and Rebecca Farrell, and I
Yes.
started taking their workshops. Their workshops should be packed every weekend, all year round, because by DJs, because what they teach is invaluable. It's not just making announcements. People think it is, but you are really on a path to build confidence, know how to talk to people. I think what I learned in some of those MC classes allowed me to get in front of that camera when I went on social media and make
Sure.
people feel like I'm just talking to them
Yes.
individually. I didn't naturally do that. I learned that and honed that skill by taking MC storytelling classes, all of these things. So I've learned from other people as well, but I always just want to give hats off to Mark Farrell for that and for raising my prices. He's always challenged me to raise my.
Yes.
I continue to do so,
Mm,
and when you raise your price, it's a little scary, but I think it's amazing because for me it would challenge me to be better. Like, okay, I'm a $2,000 wedding DJ. How do I become 5,000? Now I've got to be a better MC, a better DJ, a better planner, a better salesperson. So now I've got to learn all these skills to get up there. And every time I do that, I just have to get better and better and better. And it's been just such a motivator for me to push myself in that way. So,
mm-hmm.
yeah, I can't thank him enough for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even though I have lots of people I can name that have helped me, I'm always very grateful.
No, for sure. Yeah, that's. There's been so many people ahead of us that have helped and paved the way. It's
Yeah,
just fantastic.
yeah, I'm a big proponent of that. Anything else? I don't know. I'll just leave it at that. We're probably running out
Yeah,
of time.
no, those are actually wouldn't have been the directions I actually thought you would have gone, but those are those are two fabulous, fabulous spots that just really, really speak to the whole process of what you have had to, how you put things together, and you've broken it down into the little, learning the small pieces to make the big pieces go. Yeah,
Yep.
good stuff.
Yeah.
Eric, if people want to check out your different Instagram and TikTok and the different channels of work, kind of give them the spots to go check those out, or what your handles are in those areas.
Everything is DJ Eric Rhodes. So at Instagram, at DJ Eric Rhodes, TikTok, YouTube, trying to grow that. I'm putting out, some mashups and things out there. I have a Patreon people can join, but everything is Mixcloud. Everything is just DJ Eric Rhodes. So
Nice.
if you're curious where those are, you can just go to the link in one of those, and in my bio in one of those, and it'll have the links to everything.
Everything else. Wonderful. Well, gang, you can go out and check out Eric's mixes and a lot of his content, and I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot more content over the next months and years as you continue to give back and such with the DJ industry.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, John. I really
thank you for being on with us. Gang, we'll be back in about 10 minutes here with our second show tonight. We've got Kyle coming in from NLFX Pro, and we're going to be talking all about NAMM, which is starting here to look at a lot of gear in just a couple of days. So we'll be back in about 10 minutes. Thanks, everybody.